Pentacle witch.
Welcome, witches, to the Broken Pentacle podcast. This is a space for witches who walk their path beneath upside-down skies, where the stars tell different stories, and the magic, well, it's got teeth. We're your hosts, Owlvine and Avalon, two witches who have collectively practiced our craft under southern skies for decades.
Hello, everyone. Hello. This is an exciting episode, as are all our episodes, I believe. But today we are specifically going to be talking about the Witch's Kit. Now, what we mean by the Witch's Kit is the very tools, ingredients, and resources that we use, starting with our novice or beginner witches, moving then through to the intermediate resources, tools, and ingredients for the intermediate witch, and then all the way up to the adept witch. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode. We've got a lot to cover. And before we get started, we are going to jump in to our first segment, which is the Witch's Apothecary, which in it we describe the elixir, the herb, the stone, or the bone that we are currently working with. Right now, we are working with fluorite. And I'm going to ask Owlvine to talk about her experiences with fluorite.
So I have my lovely little fluorite around me. I've been keeping pieces on my desk. I really like to work with them on my desk. So we spoke previously about how fluorite is really amazing for clarity and for mental powers. All this kind of, you could say, sort of crown chakra, third eye, kind of this area of the body stuff. So I've found that over the last few weeks, having this in my space, spending time with it, I have been gaining a lot more clarity. So I think it is partially the crystals and partially just the longer work that I've been doing, but it's coming into a kind of culmination right now where I am not struggling as much with what I'm calling mental stories. I tell myself a lot of different stories and spend a lot of time up in my head. So I'm just noticing that it's a bit clearer up there at this time. It's feeling like I'm not fighting against myself as much as I was. That's how I feel. I feel like there's more of a mental flow and an alignment that's occurred with the help of fluorite, which has been so, so lovely. There's been a lot of stuff going on personally in my world the last few weeks, but this is the theme that I'm seeing. I feel as if there are mental things that I've struggled with for quite some time that are really untangling. So that's been absolutely lovely.
Oh, very nice. That sounds really interesting. So I've had a slightly similar and then also a dissimilar experience myself. I have had the worst moon time in a long time, right? I thought this is actually the most painful I've had in a long time. And so it was, you know how when you're on your period, as women, we're on our periods, everything changes. The emotions are heightened. The brain works in a different capacity. We're tuned into so many different things. That's my cat growling in the background, by the way.
He wants to come in.
Yes, she's having a moment right now. But I found that I was working with it to eradicate that kind of the wishy-washy kind of, wishy-washy is not the right word. It's more the fusing knot of emotion that can sometimes erupt inside of us. I have also been using my fluorite for all writing and research projects. So I will sit there and I typically tip it upside down. Sometimes I choose a different side every time, but I'll just put it to my kind of third eye and I'll just massage a little bit like that. And I'll just sort of sit and set the intention that I want to remember, I want to clear the energy. I've been using it alongside my rosemary plant as well, and a little bit of frankincense as well. So I'm trying my best to really tap into to that precise energy of fluorite, because I remember it being quite the precise learning tool. And so anytime I'm near it, my brain gets hungrier. And so I will hold it and I was listening to a podcast this morning with my fluorite in my hand. And I'm recalling a lot more of that podcast because usually I peripherally listen to things. I could be reading, writing, and listening to a podcast all at the same time because I'm neurodivergent and my brain is a wonderful place. And so this one here helps me to sort of like anchor it all into one place. And so for neurodivergent people, like super good stone, super good stone. So I've had a ton of fun with it. I find that it's very gentle and it's very comforting. When I hold it specifically, it's very gentle, very comforting. And it has this kind of familiar, I know you feeling to it. This, I've been with you all along. I don't know if the spirits or the guides or the energy of the actual stone is known to me, but I feel like it's got that, I don't know, almost like it feels like ancestors, but not ancestors, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's beautiful. I'm having a ton of fun with it. And I realize that I don't have a single piece of jewelry that is fluorite. I have many, many pieces of fluorite, but I don't have any jewelry. And it's kind of got me wanting to wear it on my person. So that's what we've got.
Time for some witchy shopping.
Right. Yes. All right. And as part of our Witch's Apothecary, we neglected to mention last episode the new botanical that we would be working with. We finished with wattle and we're moving on to a really beautiful, rather ancient kind of, I would say that this is like top 5 witches staple for a botanical. And we're specifically speaking of a resin. Would you like to introduce it, Owlvine?
Yes. Well, I think this could be classed as almost every witch's favorite resin. I know I've got a few I really love, but this is one that I definitely reach for and is the base of many, many blends that I create. And that is the beautiful resin frankincense. It has a beautiful sweetness to it. So it is an incredible botanical to add to anything you're creating with scent, right? But it has so many powerful properties as well. And as Avalon mentioned, it's historical. It's been used for magical, spiritual purposes for thousands and thousands of years. So let's get into it.
All right. So frankincense specifically is considered a sacred resin. It actually creates the foundation for most incenses that you would smell that have been prefabricated. It has a very, very smoky kind of resinous energy and it's very fragrant. It's an unmistakable fragrance. You can smell it in churches, you can smell it in sort of like spirit centers, and you can just smell it. Like we used frankincense along with some other resins and herbs to consecrate our terreiro in Brazil. So with a good hanging censer. And so the smell is iconic in my mind. It is the backdrop of witchcraft and ritual and spirit work as far as I'm concerned. But at its core, it's actually a boswellia tree. And the frankincense itself is the hardened tears, like the sap that comes from that tree specifically. And it's become one of the most formidable tools in a witch's arsenal to date. This is something that my beautiful friend Gordon says, like frankincense is the equivalent of a broad spectrum antibiotic. It is that kind of vibe when we're specifically talking about frankincense. Like if you've got nasty energy in your house, burn frankincense. If you're sad, burn frankincense. If you want to just do a spring clean, yes, clean your house and then burn frankincense through it. If you feel like there's a bit of sadness or there's been some illness in your home recently, burn some frankincense. Like it is that one thing that you can use for so many different causes. So, Owlvine, would you like to go into some of the properties of the frankincense?
Absolutely. So frankincense is an incredible purifier. We were chatting about this earlier. To reset a space, to completely clear a space. But what we love about frankincense is it doesn't just clear the space, as some botanicals do. It also reconsecrates it. It adds sacredness immediately to the space as well. So you're clearing out the ick and you're welcoming in that beautiful energy straight away, which is why we love frankincense so much, because it's an all-in-one, right? So it
Mhm.
can absolutely remove and banish spiritually, as Avalon mentioned already, any energetic stuff you've got going on in your space, any emotional ick, just anything on any of those levels. Frankincense will clear it all out and get everything feeling really uplifted again. It's really good for getting rid of, so spiritually specifically, it's really good for getting rid of negative entities, any evil vibe clinging to anything. And it actually, in my opinion, helps to draw in positive spirits. That's how I've
Mm.
found it. Now, it also, when you burn frankincense, and this is something you can probably speak to a bit better, Avalon, but when you burn incense like this with frankincense, so there are many incenses that are said that carry our prayers to the gods, right? But mostly this is based on frankincense because of that sweetness. That's really what you want. That sweet smokiness, that is what carries the prayers up, right? So whenever you are doing manifestation work or, spiritual prayer work, anything like that, it's really good to have frankincense going as well.
It's always nice as a backdrop or to actually crush your frankincense and add it to other mixtures. So it can really, in the same way that like it doesn't boost exactly the mixture. So let's say you've done a spell incense, for instance, for prosperity, you would put a tier of frankincense in there, mix it up a little bit, because while all the other ingredients are working towards drawing that prosperity or drawing that whatever it is to you, frankincense is actually clearing the path and banishing all the ill will as it's doing so, so that the herbs can actually travel through, reach out and grab that opportunity and bring it back to you. And so it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful resin for that sort of like staple issue. Like
Mm.
it is an exorcism resin. Like, so when we say it eradicates, it banishes, like it literally drives things out. Like it's such a heady, pluming kind of smoke. If you know, you know. If you've ever seen frankincense burning on a coal, you will know how much it bellows and plumes. It completely consumes the space. And so it's got a really high vibration. It's very solar in nature. It's different. See, it's different to things like Palo Santo. So Palo Santo, in case you didn't know, Palo Santo is a holy like wood, right? It's Palo Santo means sacred wood, specifically sacred wood. Now, a lot of people use this to clear the space. That's not why you use Palo Santo. You actually use Palo Santo to introduce the sacred back into an already cleared space. So you would use Palo Santo after you've used frankincense. Frankincense will come through and clear, and it does add that element of sacred back into the space. But then Palo Santo comes back in, and it will layer on top of that sacred. So by the time you're finished, two ingredients can create the most sacred space known to which kind. So really, really good little tip to layer.
Okay, so next maybe we could look into some of the traditions and the cultures that traditionally use this as well.
Yes,
Would you
yes,
like to take
indeed.
it away, Avalon?
Sure. We have some evidence to say that it has been used in ancient Egypt and Rome. So there are some references to this, but used extensively in the state and religious temples to purify spaces and ward off evil spirits that cause disease and misfortune. It was considered a direct link to the solar gods whose light dispels darkness. Do you want to do Christianity?
Sure. This is kind of my wheelhouse a little bit. So, the Catholic Church specifically has long used frankincense. So, obviously, in exorcism. So, the Catholics are very known for their exorcism rites. So, to get rid of whatever it is, those demonic entities, whatever it is they're against there, and also for blessing the congregation. So this is something you may have seen as well. If you've ever entered a Catholic church, they will have those hanging censers as well, and the priests will go back and forth with this beautiful pluming smoke.
Yes. Then we have sort of folk magic of the Middle East and North Africa. So it's burned as a daily practice in homes and businesses, not just for blessing, but to activate, and actively repel, sorry, the evil eye and remove jinxes and repel jinxes. And so it's definitely a staple scent. If you know, you know. If you're from specific regions of the world, like I grew up with the aroma of frankincense in my brain, it was already there. And so it is one of those staple ingredients, like you can't go wrong with it.
Absolutely. And moving on in modern conjure and witchcraft, it's a cornerstone of some specific formulas. So there is uncrossing formula, it's always in there, and fiery wall of protection, which you may or may not be familiar with, but a very fabulous formula. So it's used
Mm.
in the formulas themselves and in the spells as they're being crafted. And it's specifically employed to break curses and create an impenetrable shield against magical attack.
Mm.
Very
A
useful.
really good boundary and warding sort of tool.
Mm.
When I make my black salt, I put fiery wall of protection into my black salt along with some other ingredients. And then I smush it into a powder and I add oil. And then I go around my place and I cross absolutely everything. I say in everything.
Mm.
And it's sticky. And eventually it washes away, but you have to get in there and you have to do it again. You have to do it again. Protection at magic is honestly, this is just a side note. It is the most work a witch will do, without a doubt, because it has to be done so regularly, alongside all the other, magic that you're doing. If you're working prosperity magic, you're working protection magic and prosperity magic and a bit of ancestor magic. So, magical lifestyle, people.
100%.
So we've got the verdict. We've got a little bit of a witch's verdict here. So think of frankincense less as an air freshener or a purifier and more of a spiritual flamethrower specifically.
I love that.
It is the ultimate tool when you need not just clean the house, but to reclaim your territory from any oppressive or invasive energy. It doesn't suggest, it decrees.
Mm. Hell yeah.
So it's nice and strong. It's nice and strong.
We're going to have a lot of fun playing with frankincense over the next week or so. And again, we encourage you guys, if you want to get involved, to do that and let us know. Let us know how you end up playing with frankincense.
Indeed.
All right. So next we have our Witches Work Tables segment, our magical finds, fails, and field notes, whatever we have for you this week. So I'm going to have to remember my other thing that I wanted to tell you, but I do have a fail that has just popped up right in front of me today. And that is when I was going to get some of the things for the podcast down from my shelves, I had noticed that my very first magical wand, which I'm holding up on screen right now, a piece that I found in nature literally at the start of my practice, has broken. So I'm going to give this back to the earth, and I'm actually just having a realization as this is going on, but I have just stepped into a new phase of my witchery. Not specifically in my practice, but because I've just stepped back onto YouTube and sharing things in that way, all of these years that I've been away, I have been working, as a professional in the magical industry, but it's different. So now I'm sharing in a more personal way. Again, that's what it feels like. Before, my job was like separated from me a little, but now it feels like I'm back and I'm sharing me. So I actually feel as if there has been a really big shift over the last week. Mentally, I was talking about that before a little bit with the fluoride and just in so many ways. So I'm actually feeling like this is almost a symbol of like, okay, now we're in the next phase. So that's interesting. See how that.
Oh, I would burn it then. I would definitely burn it.
I think it might be. Yeah, it's a good tip. All right. Anyway, so that I'll be doing that this week. And what was the other thing I wanted to share with you? Oh, that's right. So I had a party this weekend that I attended, literally in my backyard. So it was my my sister-in-law's 40th birthday. She loves birthdays. They're a huge thing for her. I won't go into all the coolness that was because it's just not relevant here. But I found myself, probably the witching hour, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it. I wasn't aware of the time as the party went on, but I was under the fucking moon, the waxing gibbous moon, with a bunch of people just dancing. Oh my God. I love to dance. I love getting in that vibe. And I noticed when this is how witches can affect a space, you guys. It's amazing. But when I would enter that little sort of circle that was going on, I actually would feel the energy ramp up because I'm like, let's do this thing, like this is the energy I was going in. And I could feel that ripple go through the group. And we had a few times where people were just like dancing, whatever. And then we even had like a spontaneous sing along because at one point the music went out. I don't actually know what happened, but there was this guy there with the most incredible voice. So he just starts singing and we're all singing. And anyway, it was just the most beautiful, connective energy experience. And no one else there was a witch. Like, no, well, a few of them are a little witchy, but not specifically witches. But I just had that moment when I'm looking up and I'm like, this is so fucking cool. So I just wanted to mention it as like just that ability that we have as witches to energetically affect a space and energetically affect a group. And I think a lot of people don't realize that or don't really tap into it. But it's anyone has that ability. But when you're conscious of it, you can really kind of play with it and do some cool stuff. So I just wanted to mention that. What about you,
Jolly.
Avalon?
First of all, I love me an outside dance under the moon. I do it often with my outdoor fireplace. I dance around my fireplace and I love it. I love it. Full moon tonight, by the way, folks.
Yes.
Full moon in Aries. So, all right. So I found out a few things. So it's daffodil season right now, spring daffodil. But I've looked into daffodils a little bit and I realized that daffodils are actually part of the poison path and that they are naughty, naughty little gorgeous flowers. If you plant daffodil in the middle of a garden that is already flourishing, it will kill absolutely everything around it.
That makes so much sense.
It has that quality. Bulbs will do the same thing. So if you notice, daffodils pop out of like just the ground.
They're always on their own. Yeah.
They're all on their own. They're singular. So they are kind of like, look at me. They've got that look at me energy. So all of a sudden I've looked at daffodils very differently ever since. So that's been a little kind of pleasant little discovery that I've made because we do have a lot of daffodils. I have drying daffodils in my kitchen right now. And just to find this out was like, you see it and yet you never think about it. Now I see it and it makes perfect sense. So that's a nice little find. I also discovered this is one that leads down a rabbit hole. Okay, folks, a rabbit hole. So very recently I was listening to a podcast and the podcast featured Sarah Ann Lawless. And in it, she was talking about the poison path, as she's quite known. If you know who Sarah Ann Lawless is, then you know, right? She's been around for a very, very long time. She used to have an incredible website filled with the most exceptional blog posts of how-tos. If you wanted to learn how to like clean bones effectively and things like that, she had the method for you there. But you can't get that anymore. She's like disabled it or taken it down. It's like heartbreaking.
Devastating.
Really.
I was devastated.
I know, right? But she was talking about this piece of old kind of, you could call it medieval kind of rhetoric, right? And it's specifically in association with flying ointments. So flying ointments have legendary history, right? You look up the word flying ointment, you are going to unlock a virtual treasure trove of information, some of which is so unfounded. Now, there was once upon a time a factoid, a witchy factoid, a historical factoid, if you will, that witches rubbed flying ointment on their hoo-has with the broomstick. Henceforth, the idea of a witch flying on a broom came to pass. So this is old rhetoric, right? It is completely unfounded. It is completely unfounded. And just listening to this podcast this morning, the host of the podcast was like devastated by the notion of this. But Sarah Ann Lawless went directly into where this information came from, and it came from transcripts from like the persecution. So during the torture of innocent women, i.e. innocent witches, these types of confessions came, and they were highly embellished confessions. And these women were saying anything that they possibly could to just save their own lives. And a lot of people have taken that and they've considered it to be fact. It wasn't an extraction of magic. It was the torture of women. That's the byproduct of the torture of women. And so it came out of something like that. And then it embedded itself like a seed into the landscape of witchcraft and the history of witchcraft, but it has been completely disproven. So that was a little discovery that I found. So really productive kind of season.
All the witchy things.
Indeed.
All right, you guys. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of our episode today. So we are going through the witch kit. So we have got the beginner's kit, and then we're building upon it from there. We've got some intermediate, we've got some adept. Now, we decided last week how many items we were going to do, and then Avalon got on her witchy fucking train and just like, what's the word? Overachieved. Like, well overachieved. So we're going to start with you, my love, and I'm going to add my 2 cents on top. So let's go for the witch kit for the beginner.
All right. Well, I have a list. Okay. I have a list for each one. So, beginners, this is what I have. This is very detailed, folks. Okay. I was in the motherfucking zone when I wrote this. All right. So, we have a heat proof dish. Seems innocuous, but necessary. Charcoal discs, resin based incense, small tongs for lighting, a lighter or matches. That's all in like that incense burning section, right? Then, as a source of power, I have added a clear quartz generator specifically. So when you're playing around with energy for the first time, this is great for a beginner. You can get a nice clear quartz point. And I've got an even better one over here. One of these, or even like a Vogel. Like I've got so many of them. But you can work with those clear quartz points, consecrate it, and then like really draw some power from it and play with energy in that beautiful way. So then we've got a pack of white candles. I think this is an absolute staple. White can be a substitute for any color with the exception of black. But as a beginner, I wouldn't necessarily recommend working with black candles immediately. Get comfortable working with the properties of a white candle and what you can do with colored candles specifically. So then I would put candle holders to go with your candles. Here's a little one. I think I bought 9 of these when I first started. And they are mortar and pestles. I had wooden ones for bruising. I had granite ones. I had rough cast ones. I had cooking one. I just have so many mortar and pestles in my life right now. And so I would say a good mortar and pestle, a good all-purpose one that can do lots of different things. I wouldn't necessarily go for a wooden one to begin with because that is very much for bruising herbs, for making poultices and remedies and that kind of stuff. And so now I'm in my list of herbs. Okay, so the herbs that I would recommend for beginners are cinnamon for prosperity, passion, and fire, lavender for attracting calm, harmonious relationships, rosemary for protection, purification, memory, and clarity, bay leaves for wish fulfillment, divination, protection, prosperity, and prophetic dreams. Salt, which is not a herb, but it's a mineral ingredient, good quality rock salt used for purity, protection, neutralization, grounding. That's really, really good for grounding. Thyme for purification, courage, and attracting good health and washes away sorrow and fear. Dandelion, which we were talking about just before, post-recording, or pre-recording, I should say. Good for divination, wishes, not witches. Oh, yeah, witches as well. But wishes, calling spirits, and for that sun power. Then we have rose for love, self-love, and romantic love, healing heartache, beauty, and compassion. Chamomile for peace, sleep, meditation, attracting money, often called money in the hand. So it's a really good success kind of money herb. And number 10 would be agrimony for uncrossing, removing magic that's been placed upon you, and reversing spells. So they are the herbs that I would recommend to beginners. And then the book recommendations that I have for beginners are The Cornish Book of Ways by Gemma Gary, The Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. I think it's the foundational one. That's the one. And then a book of hedge witchery by Sarah Ann Lawless, who we were just talking about. And you can get that one in PDF format. So just Google it in Granny Google, and you'll find it in some form of PDF format. A lot of her PDFs are also on Scribd or Scribed, whichever one you want. So they are my beginner witch staples. I thought very long and hard about that list. And by the time I was saying to Owlvine before we started that I genuinely believe that most of the tools, ingredients, and resources that you acquire happen during your beginning phase of witchcraft because you have nothing and you need it all in the beginning, right? At least you feel like you need it all.
I feel it for sure.
Everyone feels that rush of, oh my God, I need to get the this and the that and the this and the that. So this is definitely the full, like if you're brand new to witchcraft and you go out and you get absolutely everything on this list, you can practice witchcraft competently, creatively, and constructively.
All right. So
what would you add?
This is going to be interesting. So I actually understood the assignment mildly differently. So what I thought was our witch kit for going out and about. So I think this is actually going to work out well. So we're not repeating the same shit, although some of it is the same. So I'm going to go from that angle, okay? So the first thing I wanted to show you was my little witchy bag, my little witchy go bag. This is, isn't it gorgeous? I wanted something so the eyes, I don't know if you can see it, but the eyes are reflective as well. I wanted something kind of freaky at night.
Oh my God. For all our listeners, Owlvine is holding up a leather-like owl backpack, I want to say, with the most beautiful embellished eyes on the front. And then the actual flap that comes down is like the little nose. It is so gorgeous. Where did you get it? Tell us.
Amazon, people. Sorry, I wish I had a better store to like support, but it was just on Amazon. So you can find it yourself. So this one, obviously it's not that big, right? So most of the time, this is my day bag, right? So I'm going out for the day. All right. So these are the things that I would take out with me to practice. So always plastic baggies, right? Little Ziploc bags, whatever, to collect all the things, right? That's when I'm out there, I'm thinking I want to connect with nature and also I want to gather and bring back with me. So plastic baggies, a knife or secateurs for obviously cutting things off, but also inscribing. So I was really thinking here, like, let's get this down, right? Like, how can we multiple like uses of things? Then a lighter or matches. Now, I prefer a lighter because it's actually really great for leeches as well, I discovered after my last bush bash. So I got a leech on my arm and I was like, crap, I forgot to pack the salt. My husband's like, don't worry, I got you. So all you need to do is you heat up the lighter, just hold it on for a minute, and then the metal will heat up. Be very careful not to touch yourself. Touch the leech and it will literally fly off your arm or wherever it is, right? Like it will dispel itself. So that's a little tip as well. Lighter or matches. Notebook, journal, pen, right? Of course, you want to be recording your experiences, thoughts, whatever. And also, this is for your petition paper if you want to use that. Now, water or whiskey or some kind of libation, right? An offering for the land. So I like to use water, particularly in Australia. A lot of the time, the land is parched. But traditionally, alcohol and things like that are used. So I might go for those as well, depending on what I'm doing. I even just have like I got this as a party favor. It's like a little, I don't know, lemon liqueur or whatever. So little bottles like this are fantastic if you're going somewhere. Just, chuck one in. Candles. So I like to have a little packet, or it's like a little pouch of different colored candles. So I got my white in there, my different colors for whatever I might want to do while I'm out and about. Florida water is a big one. So I've got just a little, we spoke about this last time, I think, or I did recently anyway. Oh, it was on our live. That's what it was.
Yes.
So Florida water is incredible for obviously cleansing. That's what I would kind of primarily reach it for out and about, but it's good for protection. It is used as an offering as well. So you could do that. And it's really good for spiritual alignment. I would also take a divination tool of some kind. So it would be one on this, the basic list, the beginner witch. It would be one that you're comfortable with. So for myself, I would reach for a tarot deck or an oracle or a pendulum, right? It would be one of these really simple divination tools. The other thing is I would take some thread or cord or string with me. So this is amazing for bundling up stuff that you find or any kind of magic, right? Really good thread magic. An anchor to your spirits. So or a spirit. So here I've got these beautiful prayer beads. These were made for me by Anya Auger. Some of you might remember her. I don't know. She's one of the OG witchy content creators on YouTube. And these are Morrigan prayer beads that she made. So these are really fabulous. Well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be prayer beads, but something to connect you with a spirit that you work with. This is something you might have in mind beforehand. And why I like to bring them along, let's say, or invite them, is for that sense of protection. Particularly if I'm on my own, I wouldn't necessarily recommend people go off on their own with the dangers in the world or whatever these days. But if you can do it on your own, having a solo witchy retreat is really amazing. And then definitely have your spirits with you, right? In whatever anchor form they're, pieces of jewelry or whatever you use to connect with them. That's fine. The other thing is charcoal discs, for sure. Definitely bring those along. And then actually, sorry, I put that into my other thing. I would say an assortment of crystals. So ones that I would really like to take with me would be a clear quartz, black tourmaline, amethyst, carnelian, labradorite, stones like that. Then I've got only 2 ingredients, right? Because I was sticking to a number 3 here. But I've got the resin. I would take out and about in nature. I would actually take dragon's blood, even though we spoke about frankincense. Now, I like dragon's blood just because it has an earthier kind of smell to it. So that's why I would be drawn to that. Really good for power and potency, dragon's blood. So adding it into anything you're doing, it's going to boost it. Really great for protection, of course, that exorcism. And it's also used in love magics as well. Now, in hoodoo, it specifically brings good luck in money and love. And the other ingredient that I would recommend is rosemary. It's just one that I personally love working with. So again, protection, it's amazing for mental powers, purifications, aids in sleep, which might be an issue if you're out in the great outdoors, healing and love. So I've only included these 2 here because, obviously my thought was getting out in nature, and I would prefer to actually gather what's around me, right? And create with that space, with that land itself. And being in Australia, we can find plenty of dry things that we can burn immediately if we, want to be doing that kind of thing. So I'm just going to, and the last thing that I would have when going out and about is probably some kind of pre-written ritual or spell idea or something that you want to do while you're out there. Have just some kind of idea about that first. I think this is a really great idea for beginners because you can just get into that deer in headlights. What do I do? What do I do? So having some kind of idea first is a good way to do it. Now, let's hop back into the house and see what Avalon has for our intermediate witches on top of these.
Thank you. Thank you. Just building off your beginner one, I would also add a compass into that.
Yes, if you're out and
If
about.
you are out and about, it's also good for at home. If you're at home, you've got Wi-Fi, you can use the compass on your phones. But if you're out and about, it's always really good to have a compass so that you know the cardinal directions, just in case. Just in case.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have for the intermediate witch. I have got here, we're going to up our candle game. So like intermediate witches, we know what we want. So I'm talking black candle, white candle, red, green, orange, blue, and yellow specifically. Lots and lots of work can be done, just plain altar work can be done with a white and a black candle. So you've already got a white candle, bring in a black candle. The candle absorbs the unwanted. The white attracts the energy and holds the light. So very, very good vibe. Then I would say let's start experimenting with some condition oils. These are magical or spell oils. And I would recommend a come to me oil because it's very multi-purpose. A lot of people think that a come to me oil or a version of an attraction oil like that is more for lovers, but it's actually, it can be for money, it can be for jobs, it can be for all different types of purposes. So it's a very all-purpose kind of oil. Then I would also recommend a road opener oil for opening those roads and increasing those opportunities and clearing away the unwanted debris from our lives, energetically speaking. And then I would have 2 more, which is an uncrossing oil and a protection oil. And so protection oil for every single day, uncrossing oil for those days where you feel like shit is a bit real. Like if you kick your toe in the morning, break a mug and get your hair stuck in the car, I would then just start to uncross myself with some
Uncross.
oil.
Yeah.
So uncross these types of oils I have protection and uncrossing and road opening in my car. I also have it in the house. I also have it in my handbag. So these are the types of oils, right? Then I would recommend the working with tourmaline, amethyst, and lapis lazuli and aventurine. Now, I say tourmaline because beginners specifically, like you can work with tourmaline as a beginner, but you're never ever supposed to get tourmaline wet. And so there's a few like kind of pay attention, take care, look into it kind of qualities about a tourmaline that can be very flaky if they're fresh and they're raw. So having just that little bit more experience, you'll get more out of the tourmaline because tourmaline is the best. It's the best neutralizing stone. Tourmaline is the mineral equivalent of frankincense, as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree with that.
And so, like, it's so multifaceted, and it has such a great quality. It's a grounding aid, so it can really help to ground your energy. If you are feeling very scattered, if you've just had a spirit experience, or you're feeling a bit emotionally overcharged, sit on the ground if you can, sit on the ground with your feet together. So let's say my hands and my feet, and put tourmaline between your feet and sit bolt upright. Like have your spine as straight as possible. It will ground you so quickly. So I would say tourmaline, amethyst, because it is the great stone of spirituality. So when you are studying or meditating, when you are drinking cakes and ale, because it says that you can't get drunk with a piece of amethyst on your persons, but it is that connection to spirit. It is that connection to that heightened realm. It sort of activates your crown chakra. It makes you perceive things a little bit more spiritually at the same time. So it's a really great stone to carry on your person to sort of like increase the whimsy and the magic in your life, and then keep the balance with the tourmaline. So you're not too, woo, off with the fairies kind of vibe. Lapis lazuli is a sovereign stone. It very much works very well on the throat chakra. So it's good for communication, but it has this beauty aspect to it. And it has that beautiful vein of pyrite that runs through it. So it's quite prosperous as well as being quite beautiful. So if you want to work glamour magic and beauty magic and that kind of stuff, as well as good communication and that sovereign self kind of energy, lapis lazuli is great. And aventurine, we know because we've covered it here on our previous podcasts. It's a great prosperity and heart-centered stone. So there's a lot more qualities to that, but listen to our previous episodes where we have been working with aventurine, so that you know exactly what to do with it. Then moving on from that, collecting jars. This is when you're going to be collecting the most jars. I have a honey jar with money rice in it, and I have a master food spice jar with some prosperity incense in it at the moment in time. So you'll collect these jars. Like you'll find yourself just naturally collecting little jars, big jars, great big jars. It's a great fun time. Then I would say tools for witch work specifically. This is when I would say that you're getting more serious with your practice. So cauldrons and candle holders are plenty. So having that cauldron is multi-purpose. It can be an incense burner. It can be a heat-proof, safe dish in which to burn petitions and things like that in. It can be transportable. It can be very transformative. You can actually cook things in your tiny little cauldron if you need to. You can make ritual baths in your tiny little cauldron. It's a very multi-purpose tool, right? And multitudes of candles, because any witch who has been around for a little while knows that when you're doing witch work and you're working candles, that one candle is never enough. So I most often than not have like 5, 10 going all at the same time. Like I like to like light that shit up as much as possible, but I'm not saying use 10. Okay. This is a fire hazard, people. Be very safe. Then I've got colored papers and pens for all the petition that you're going to do. Like it's quite possible. Like I do this with my standard copy paper. I prepare my standard copy paper and I turn it into spell paper by steeping it in like coffee water and like herbs and then oils and then letting it dry naturally. And then I've made my paper. So you can do this with colored paper as well, and you can be very specific about it. If you're going to use pink paper for all your love magic, then it would stand to reason that you put it in a love tea, and then you put love oils in there and that kind of stuff. So you've got that option, right? And colored pens always fun. Then we have, now's the time to pick a divination practice, like a good solid divination practice. This is about the time that I would say cartomancy. So Oracle, I would say, is great for beginners, but Tarot, I would say, is better for intermediate. There is a lot of history. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of esoterica associated to Tarot. And if you're going to learn the Tarot, it stands to reason that you learn the foundations of it. And understanding esoterica by this stage is definitely possible. So I would say Tarot, Lenormand, and basic astrology. So this is when you'd start to really look at the position of planets, the aspects, understanding days of the week. Like you start that out as a beginner as well, but like the magic of colors, the magic of numbers, the magic of the days of the week, and gods and goddesses and that kind of mythological access, that would definitely be there. I would also recommend a yearly calendar for celebrations for planting and celebrating. So the Sabbath celebrations, if you follow the neo-pagan wheel of the year, actually an Australian website that's really good for Sabbath date. The exact date and time for Sabbath dates is Spheres of Light.
Love that.
So it's fantastic. Every year I look at it and I make sure like the day and the time of everything. Then I would say by intermediate, you're in your growing phase now. So it's not just about getting dried herbs and ordering dried herbs. You might want to start growing your own herbs. And I would say start with rosemary, mint, and lemon balm. Very all-purpose, very easy to grow in a lot of different parts of Australia specifically and the world. So fantastic. I would also say that by this stage, you are primed for making black salt and wards, your own wards. And really, like, black salt is the caviar of witchcraft. Okay.
Oh, I'll show you that as well.
Mine's in my mortar and pestle right now because I'm still doing witch work with it. But it can be everything you need it to be. Like, it can be so good. So making your own version of a black salt, it's fantastic. I use actual coal as the base of my black salt. I don't use activated charcoal. But each to their own. And then I would say we're at the herb section now. I would say devil's shoestring, employment, luck, and command. I would say hyssop. We've played with hyssop. So for purification, cleansing, and uncrossing. I would say rue for protection, uncrossing, and evil eye work. It's really great as a ritual bath as well. I would say yarrow for courage, psychic protection, and love. Road opener herb. Now look to the region. Different herbs, especially throughout South America, there is a different herb for road opener. There's a couple of different ones that are considered to be good road opening herbs. So find a good road opener herb, and that removes obstacles and new beginnings. Then lemongrass, which I'm bummed I can't grow down here, but I used to be able to grow it up north. It is a tropical kind of plant. So it's for purification, luck, psychic, dreams, and cleansing. Then we have ginger for power, acceleration, success, and passion. Dragon's blood for power, protection, banishing, and love. Benzoin for purification, prosperity, spirit works. Copal for purification, spirit communication, and prayers. And then for the books that I would recommend, I would have, hang on, before I get to books, I have ancestral practices here. This is about the time that you would have your ancestral altar and you would start to practice spirit work with your ancestors specifically. So meditation, journey work, astral magic, that kind of stuff. So for astral practices, and I would say that at intermediate, you are learning to deepen your understanding of sigil magic, sigil fundamentals, and that kind of thing. The Cunning Man's Handbook of Root Work and Conjure by Dr. John St. Germain. A Deed Without a Name by Lee Morgan. Lee is actually a local witch down here in Tasmania. He just lives up on a hill, up a bit further. And Animistic by Gordon White. So this is the history of animism and those animated practices, very jungle, earth-centric root kind of magic. And very, very interesting book. Very interesting book. Highly recommend it.
Mm. More
What
delicious
have you got?
books. All right. So we are heading back outside with our simple little witch kit. Okay. So I've got just a few things to share for this next part here. When we are building upon the original kit that I just shared with you before, for the intermediates, I would add a second divination tool. This is just me personally. So I would probably do pendulum in the beginners, and then I would have a deck as well. I'd like to have the both. I want the option. I like that, that kind of play that we can do there. The next one is I would have another offering, so something more tangible. So we spoke about libation earlier. This would be like a food, or a service even. So bringing like a plastic bag and some gloves so you can pick up rubbish in that area. That's a really wonderful offering that you can give to nature or to the earth spirits, right? So some kind of other offering that's a little bit more tangible. Then we get into kind of I've got 3 different tools here that I would love to use for this next intermediate group here. The first one would be chalk. So blessed chalk, I love to take out and about with me. So it's awesome for creating boundary if you want to do that. It's great for sigils, right? You can do it on anything that you find around you or on paper, whatever. You can use the chalk to make marks to call in spirits. What do I think? Oh, and to write petitions, which I already said. Sorry, I'm just trying to read my notes here, people. The other thing I would for sure take along is some kind of noise maker. Now, if you're out in the woods, out in nature, I think the drum is the one that we'd probably reach for, right? Depends what you've got on hand, of course. If all you got is a bell, that's fine. If you've only got your hands, you can also use that. But having a drum, like that is just going to get you there, deep into spiritual space, right? And then the last one I would take is a cauldron, which Avalon already mentioned all the cauldron things. I've actually never taken a cauldron with me out and about into nature. I'm just trying to think. I've had an experience with Crimson Fire, who some of you might know, with her and her cauldrons. But I just thought it would be so delicious to have a cauldron and just stick it on your fire, right near the fire, in the fire, whatever, and work your magic with that. I just think it would be really, really tasty. Now, I do have a couple of ingredients, I suppose, that I could mention here. I'm just looking at them going, I kind of wish I had said that for the beginner, but that's okay. Let me just share these with you. So for being out and about, I would like to have some black witch's salt on me, just in case it's needed, right? So again, incredible for a myriad of purposes. But I would probably reach for it for protection. If I was just feeling like I just wanted a better barrier, a better magical barrier around me or whatever, I would reach for the black salt. Now another one, I will see how this lands. I've got poppy seed here. Now, poppy seed is used for confusion, amongst other things. I quite like it for sowing confusion. Let me see if I can explain this concept. So there are a series of books that I've read before, which some of you may have as well. The Black Dagger Brotherhood series. Okay, it's for a certain kind of person. But anyway, in that they have this law where they have this thing called MIS. I think it's like MIS. But essentially it creates like a confusing barrier, right? So they're vampires in this book and they have this big old mansion or whatever. But when you get close to the mansion, like people get confused and they can't quite find their way and like they don't really know where they're going. And it's that level of protection for them, right? So I've used poppy seed in this kind of way to create a barrier of confusion. Anyway, see how that lands.
Very nice.
The other one is a little bit of protection from witches themselves if you need that kind of thing. Okay, everyone's practice is different. How everyone operates in the world is a little different. Some people piss off witches along the way. Then I would go for some white clover. Really good for protection against that. Now, this one is a beginner's one, I would say. This is a big old jar of bird seed here. So if you were going out and about and you didn't want to take a bunch of, herbs and different things with you, bird seed. This is something that I learned from the Lady Grave Dancer, who is a witch here on YouTube as well. But you can just like put your intent into the seed, right? And then you cast it out. And this is great because, again, we're working in nature here. But This is particularly good for like manifestation type magics because some of the seeds will sprout. Some of those seeds will sprout in the rain, and that's like your magic coming to be, right? And it's not too disruptive for the landscape. You're not going to be, I don't know, growing some crazy things that shouldn't be in that area. So those are the things that I wanted to add there. Avalon, our advanced
Mhm.
list.
Very nice. Very nice. By the way, your recommendation of a drum, I have for later on for another time a banger story about how I scared the shit out of campers. Because my coven and we were doing an initiation with a drum and we're
Oh
on a
my God.
mountaintop. So
I can't wait for that story.
all right. So let's go into advanced. This is less recommendation and more standards.
Mhm.
Okay. So because adept or advanced witches, they don't need to be told. They just need to be reminded. So I start this one off with, by this stage, you'll be buying your ingredients in bulk: herbs, charcoal discs, and candles. So I buy my herbs in kilo bags. Like I have a kilo of frankincense sitting on my dinner table right now. So I buy everything in bulk because I use it a lot. And you will find that the more you practice, the more you use it. Is a very consumerist thing. However, I would say that the only ingredients that you buy in bulk are the ones that you typically use as part of your own practice. You don't have to buy everything in bulk.
Yeah.
So things like cinnamon, I buy in bulk. Frankincense, I buy in bulk because I burn it almost every day. And charcoal discs, I buy in bulk.
Yes.
I use a roll of charcoal discs a week, so I have to buy it in bulk. All right, you will have built a comprehensive witches library. So this is by this stage, you'll see that Owlvine and I have many of the same books. She's also got some books that gears towards her own practice, and I've got some books that gear towards mine, but we each have a comprehensive book. Like if you ask her right now, do you have a book on candle magic? The answer will undoubtedly be yes. You'll have a book on herbal magic. You'll have a grimoire book. You'll have a book of prayers. By the way, I'm just going to give a shout out to the Crone's Book of Words, okay, by
Ooh,
Valerie Lowe.
yes.
Fucking love that book. So good.
Great.
So fun. So fun. So comprehensive witches library. This is also the time where you'll have those PDFs. You'll have those obscure kind of ebook downloads. You'll be purchasing your books from occult and esoteric book sellers like Scarlet Imprint, Three Hands Press, Troy Books, and so on. So Owlvine and I were talking a little bit recently, and I had a conversation with an author friend of mine who publishes in this field. And he was saying that the reason why the vast majority of books that are published are for beginners is because beginners have the largest market, right? So we're talking 80%. And so intermediate to advanced, the markets are smaller yet. And so the people that typically publish for that intermediate to advanced are these specialty books, like our Scarlet Imprint. Like if you are a beginner, I dare you to have a look at the catalog of books at Scarlet Imprint and go, what the fuck are they talking about? But the adept, the more advanced practitioner, even the intermediate practitioner will be like, oh, that's so good. Books that you can't get anywhere else. That's where I'd be looking. All right. You will have amassed a collection of curios. I'm talking bones, crystals, skins, claws, teeth, spine, blood, hair. Curios, tag locks, things of that nature. Get in the habit now. If you're a beginner listening to this, get in the habit of getting everyone's hair. Weird? Yes, absolutely. Put it in a Ziploc bag, name and date. Name and date. Make sure, because tag locks are things that we typically work with a lot for sympathetic magic and for healing work. It's good to have somebody's tag lock for healing work. So you will be proficient in more than 3 types of divination by this stage. Now, typically speaking, the more advanced witch has her preferred tools. I work with most cards, so I'm a cartomancer. So tarot, oracle, a bit of Lenormand. I work with charms. I do charm casting. I do tea leaf reading. I do candle wax reading. I do omen. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I mean? It's more than one thing. It's more than three things. Most witches that have been around a very long time, out of pure boredom, will teach themselves a new divination system because it's like, let's go and learn the Ogham. All right. By this stage, entry into practical fields is expected. I'm talking gardening, herbal healing, Reiki, crystal healing. People just acquire these kind of skill sets. And I know a lot of witches that are into permaculture and organic gardening. I know a lot of witches that are sort of like walk the poison path and make their own decoctions and things like that. So that's that stage. By this stage, also, spirit work is a high skill. And I say high skill because typically advanced practitioners of witchcraft will work with deity, the assumption of spirit, mediumship, and necromancy, and things of that nature, right? And so advanced practitioners typically also work with advanced sigils, i.e., magic squares, grimoire magic, ceremonial magic, that kind of advanced sigil experience. This would be the time to experiment with the poison path. So toad work, defensive magic, baneful magic, full stop. These are the things that advanced practitioners are typically learning or quite good at already. And some witches would actually specialize in baneful magic. That's how into it they get. And then I would say, last of all, the veiled arts. So flying ointments, journey work aided by substances, mushrooms, DMT, that kind of stuff. So real journey kind of work. So that's my advanced.
I love this. I feel like we're totally doing like two different things here, but I like that scope, you know? All right. So we're heading back outside with our backpack, yes? For our advanced crew, this is what I would add on top here. I would go at this point for some kind of magical oil, which I know we spoke about, you know, earlier, some of those really great oils. For me, I was thinking about this, and if I'm getting out into nature, I'm probably doing like some kind of, again, it really depends on what you're doing, right? So obviously you would have some kind of intention before you go and you can pack accordingly. This is very general, but I would actually pack my Baba Yaga oil. So I've got an oil that I make for her. And like, ooh, I was just like, when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, like that's the fucking oil. And to have her there as well, like, yes. So that's what I would do there. But any of the magical oils we mentioned earlier, all amazing. Then I would probably have some kind of incense blend, a pre-made incense blend, which could have, oh my goodness, all the things, like whatever you wanted in there. But again, a good general one that I thought of would have that frankincense. And I would add some benzoin. So benzoin is another resin, and it's one of my favorites. Really good for bringing in luck, for peace of mind, for purification and prosperity. I would add some eucalyptus. We have spoken in previous episodes about wonderful eucalyptus. I'd add a little bit of sandalwood too. So sandalwood is amazing for spirituality, for wish making. I would add some cinnamon too, specifically for its good fortune aspects, for spirituality as well, because we're wanting to create that space for spirit, right? Which the frankincense does too, protection and healing as well. Then I would bring a mirror. So mirrors are an amazing tool because they can be used for a myriad of different kind of magics. You can use them for protection. So you can have them faced out from you, reflecting whatever, right? You can have them that way. They're also really good for divination. Even silver mirrors can be used for divination. As we spoke about in our live, scrying is generally best done at night, right? Just so there's not as much visual distraction when you're scrying. And I really like mirrors as well because they also can be used as portals. So you can enchant them to use as a portal to connect with other places or another person even. So I really had that going through my mind when I was thinking about being in the woods and like, I don't know, I was like, ooh, I want to like have a portal to somewhere else. And I don't know, but that could be a really cool piece of magic that you explore. The other thing is if we're out and about and we're getting to the like end of our witch kit here, I'd bring some body paint, right? Like, whoa, slap it on and get like real primal. I think painting yourself in that way, there's almost no better way to like step into magical mind space. That's not true. There are many ways to do it, but it will just shift you into a different gear. Especially, I guess, in that space, if you can kind of see some of the paint on you, right? Because you won't be able to see your face. or if you've got other people around you with the paint on as well, or take a mirror, I suppose, to look at yourself with your paintedness on there. The other thing is I would probably take, this is a very personal one, I would take some kind of smoke blend, right? Like a smoke blend. So you could keep this just as a uh I'm trying to think of like the words to use, the politically correct terms. You don't have to get high, okay, is what I'm trying to say. You can keep this completely like herbal on that level. And there are so many different things that you can smoke, right? So you can actually ingest your magic in that way. There's a really great website that I forgot to get organized. It's WikiHow and it's on smoke blends. But they tell you all the different herbs that you want to put as your base because they don't have much
Mm.
flavor. And then the next two, they tell you put a little bit of this and then just a tiny bit of this, and you can blend these different smoke flavors together. But some of the ones that I mentioned that I've written down here that I've used before, mullein, really, really great for the lungs, actually. Mallow as well. So these would be like
Mm.
the base herbs. So you could mix it with something else if you wanted to, tobacco or cannabis or whatever you're doing, or just keep it on its own. And then just a pinch of mint and jasmine. That's quite a nice little
Oh,
flavor
very nice.
profile there.
Very nice.
And then very last, this is kind of a weird one, right? But hear me out. So this is my very last thing. If I was going out into the wilds, what am I taking with me? I thought a cat whisker. This is my little jar of cat whiskers and claws here that I collect from my kitties. Now, the reason I chose that is because, let me just get a whisker here. What do cats do with their whiskers? They are tuned into the world, right? Like insane. It is incredible what cats can pick up on and near their whiskers, even how they can, um, I guess, take in information from the world. So I liked this as almost like a little charm, a little talisman, something like that, but to actually tune in while you're out in nature. If you felt like you needed a bit of extra help there, I think a lot of us, I think we spoke about this previously, but when you get outside at night and you're not inside, like your senses heighten, right? And everything becomes a little bit more, you hear the sounds louder, you see things in the shadows. So if you're
Freak.
already feeling right, if you're feeling nervous, don't bring out the cat whisker, okay? But if you're wanting to tune even more deeply into that, I think that could be a really interesting experience to add to your outdoor magics. So that
Mm.
is what I have for you today.
Nice. That's excellent. I like the inclusion of the smokes because it matches really well with the kind of the use of substances
Mm.
like psilocybin and DMT and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So very, very nice. Very, very nice. And there are so many other practices that, these levels of witches can engage in. Like this is a very condensed kind of list. But I accidentally missed out in the very beginning for our beginner witch. I forgot to mention the incense burner to go with the charcoal.
Oh,
It's
yes.
yeah, but I missed it. And the pendulum for divination. So, which Owlvine already said anyway. Here's the thing, too. It's important to understand that we've gone very generally speaking here, because let's say, for
Mm.
instance, you are more geared towards a traditional witchcraft, the non Cochrane, more British, Cornish variety, then your intermediate to advanced kit will look very different and very associated to those practices. Likewise, if you are practicing Norse Reconstructionist witchcraft or practices, then you would be leaning more into Sadir, that kind of thing, and therefore it'd be a different branch. If you are
Mm.
going more Yoruba style, if you are going sort of Greek Reconstructionist and like devoting yourself to the worship of Hecate, then you would be going in a different direction altogether. Or if you're wanting to connect with your Irish roots or your Scottish roots, you'd be going Celtic path. And then beyond that, like looking into your history and your own personal genealogy and your heritage, you might be pulled to different parts of the world. And if you're Japanese in sort of like ancestry, there is some beautiful, beautiful magic is associated with Japanese mythology and culture, and they are very ritualistic in their own way. Likewise, Egyptian, likewise, sort of like Middle Eastern. So it doesn't matter in which direction your path goes. The point that we're trying to make is that there will be tools that will perfectly suit your path, no matter which direction you go. And so that's probably the most important thing to consider here, is that it doesn't matter where your proclivities take you, as long as you know that you can be well supported by tools, resources, and ingredients in every direction that you turn to.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And so we're getting close to the end. We have some community questions here.
We do. So, our wonderful listeners, we would love to know where you are in your practice right now. Would you consider yourself a beginner, an intermediate, an advanced practitioner? And what was the last tool you purchased for your craft? Should we answer this question? I actually don't even know. I'd have to think off the top of my head. Oh,
Well,
well,
maybe.
I have a deck. Does that count?
I always have a deck.
Always have a new deck. I will quickly share it because why not? It's kind of fun. I just purchased for myself the Biblical Tarot. So this one I've wanted for a while. Let me show you it's the guidebook there, what it looks like. But okay. I've only done like one reading with this so far. Let me just show you some of the cards because that can be interesting maybe. But it's so fun going through the deck and going, I know these stories. Like I grew up with these stories. And for myself, I have never super connected with the Bible. Like when I was a Christian, I hated the way it was written. I don't feel, do you know what I mean? I'm not drawn into the story. Like it's like this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Hated it. But it's actually really interesting going through this deck going, oh, some of these stories have stuck, and I'm looking forward to having a play with them. From my new vantage point, as witch. Not to say again that these haven't come into my craft at various times previously, but yeah, I feel like I don't know, I'm kind of excited about the possibilities with this deck. So I guess I'll let you guys know moving forward. What about you? What was your latest tool that you bought?
My latest tool that I purchased, I would say I actually did get a nice big order from Spotlight of like cotton cloth, cotton, silk
Yeah.
thread, that kind of stuff for charm bags and like
Mhm.
street pillows and that kind of stuff. And candles, because I'm always buying candles, folks.
Love it. The
Always
basic.
buying candles. I'm going out today to buy more candles at some point, though, just so we know. Like I have a stash, but I always seem to run out of a particular color. And
There's
so
always the ones you reach for, isn't it? Most. And then you're like, damn it, need more of those.
over the weekend, I went through a whole pack of white candles.
Wow.
Just over the weekend. So as you can see, this is why we buy everything in bulk. I do need to do a Nimbin candle order.
Nimbin is the coolest place. I've been there once and I was like, I think I need to live here. This is my town. So cool.
It definitely has a vibe up there now, definitely. But they do a non-toxic candle, and it's absolutely a great candle. See, but I have a taste when it comes to my candles. I like pillar candles. I like long burning candles. I've spoken about 7-day candles here. I'm not going to say it again. But a good pillar candle that holds the flame for a lot longer. And also I like a type of straight up and down candle, not like a dinner candle, which is very tapered. I like a straight up and down candle, sort of like Coach style candles. But you can't get traditional Coach candles that are nice and fat here. But I do like a stick candle, a candle stick, if you will. And so I typically buy bags of 10. So I went through a whole bag this weekend. So I need to go out and get another bag of 10. Maybe I'll get a bag of 20.
But yeah, listen, you're going to use them eventually, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's absolutely true. But I'll need some black. You just have to top up sometimes. I think the last big purchase that I made was an 8-liter cauldron, cast iron potbelly cauldron that I bought off Facebook Marketplace, brand spanking new. And it cost me a grand total of $60.
What a find. That is awesome. I wanted to give a quick tip too for anyone who's looking for lots of candles. It's a bit hit and a miss, but you can actually go to charity stores, and there are some that I've been to where they literally have like drawers of old candles, sticks that people have gotten rid of, just this and that, whatever. Obviously, you never know what you're going to find, but I would recommend if you're someone that goes into charity stores, always look at what candles they have, because you can get them for like so much cheaper than anywhere else you're going to get them in Australia. So,
Exactly. You can also get a lot of candles from religious stores as well.
yes.
So, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. It's just annoying. It's just annoying.
It would be nice to be able to just go down to the local store and get dollar 7-day candles, wouldn't it? But
Oh, so nice.
reality.
So nice.
Maybe one day, who knows?
Oh, it's such a vibe. It's such a vibe, honestly. We need to start manufacturing candles, I think.
That would be awesome. If anyone
Not
is
us
out there,
personally, but
witches-
Australia, full
yes,
stop.
Australia, not us. We don't want to do that. But Australia, we'll buy your candles. Just make them, please.
Exactly. Exactly right. All right, folks. Well, that is it for us today. Owlvine, would you like to do your thing?
That's it from under our upside down sky. You've been listening to the Broken Pentacle podcast, where the stars tell different stories and the magic, it's got teeth. Until next time, witches, much love and many blessings.
Bye.